Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just wait one more minute before we get started. I know some folks have to get moving for the last of the graduations, I believe. So we'll just wait one more minute. So it's been about a minute. I think we have critical mass to get started. So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Fabulous meeting of the Finance and Operations Committee meeting. I think before we jump into the action items, we just need to do two things. One is to introduce. We have Mr. Hernandez, CFO, who's joining us, I think, for our first Finance and Operations. Maybe you've observed some before, but just want to extend a welcome to you on behalf of the committee. Happy to have you here, but I also want to take a moment to thank Linda Hannons, outgoing CFO, who is retiring after 54 years. I've been on this committee now for 6+ years. I've been on the board. He's been present in many of these meetings, and particularly when she moved up into the CFO position. So I just want to send you, Linda Hannons, great thanks and appreciation for all you've done, not only for the school district, but also been helpful to me as a committee chair and a board member with answers to all sorts of questions. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Yes, Ms. Hannes, thank you for keeping this ship going in the straight and up direction. And I agree personally, you've been a very big help for me, helping me to understand and get on board. So thank you so much.
Well, Mr. Hernandez, you have some big shoes, or I should say cowboy boots, to fill. That was the theme of her going away party last week. But we're glad to have you on board, even though it means that we have to say goodbye. Someone who's worked so hard for us. So I won't belabor it, but I just want to say thank you. All right. With that, we'll jump into the rest of the agenda. On the information only items, are there any comments or questions related to those? I had none either, so we will jump into abstracts. The first of which looks like it's an adult ed grant. So let's jump into that. And Ms. Benora?
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday and last day. So I'm here to present 3 abstracts for New Haven Adult Education. The first abstract is our State Department of Education grant, a little over $5 million. Basically covers all the expenses along with the local share to run adult education. This year, we proudly served over 1,600 students with 135 graduates. We're looking to do more of the same next year. We have been told by the state as early as last week that we should expect flat funding, which in this case is good, positive news. So we are expecting that, and the district should receive the first payment in early August. I'm happy to expand more on the grant. Many of you might be familiar with it, but If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
All right, comments or questions on that? I have none. So next one is the Program Enhancement Program Project.
So the next two grants are federal grants. Those are competitive grants, and lucky for us, we're in a second year of our continuation for this grant. The first of which covers a more cohort-style specialty program, including our family literacy program, our manufacturing program, our CNA for our high school and GED students, our Gateway to College program, which is CT State Gateway courses offered on site at Adult Ed. And that is in total of 235,000. We're hopeful, again, hopeful, the state is optimistic that we will receive this funding this year. And this year we proudly served a cohort of over 30 CNA students who graduated, and 5 of our students are now transitioning into the trades of manufacturing. And any questions there, or I'll just keep rolling?
Any questions on that one? No, go ahead. Dr. Yarbrough.
Yes, I don't know. I guess on the additional sheets, uh, if you're naming the goals or uh, what has been accomplished, but I just like the percentages and the targets and how we're really looking to move the participants forward, and I'm sure they're doing strong work uh, in the various areas. So that's great.
Thank you. I'm actually working on the end of year report that's due to the state in the end of July, so I could certainly follow up and send you those data points as well.
Great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's the cycle of grant writing, right? We start it, we continue it, we mid-year, end of year, the whole thing. So happy to be doing that. And the next abstract that I'm presenting is also a program enhancement project, but specifically targeted for our ESL population, or IELCE, Integrated English Language and Training. And this is probably the most volatile grant given the landscape. So we don't know if this will be funded. Luckily, it's only a small portion of it. We might be able to shift funds from one to the other to maintain services to this crew. But we're still hopeful that the money will come in. And so I'm presenting the abstract today, hoping that the grant will be funded this summer.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I had none. Thanks for all your work, especially for the competitive grants. I know that's extra work to get the extra funding, but appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Next item, 3.4, is an IDEA grant. Ms. Jackson.
Yep, this is our larger grant that we get from the state to look at costs for students with disabilities. Primarily, we utilize this particular grant for the over 3,000 students that we have, personnel benefits, and some high-cost contractors for both nursing and behavioral services. Primarily is how we expend the money for IDEA.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I had none either, so we'll jump into 3.5, also IDEA.
Yep, thank you. That's for the preschool portion. So you'll see that money is about 154,000. That again allows for us to pay for a few full-time paraprofessionals to support our special education programs in district.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions on this? I had none either, so thank you. And we'll move on to 3.6, which is School Health Center grant. Ms. Peters?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is an abstract, our annual grant from DPH to support 11 school-based health centers who receive funding from us. They give us a 5-year grant every 5 years, and we're in year 3 of 5. And we've been flat funded pretty much for the last 5 years. So that amount of $1,344,594 will be going to mostly support the partners that staff our clinics who have DPH funded sites.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I had none either. We'll jump right into the first agreement, which is with Clifford Beers, also Ms. Peters.
Yes, one of our four major partners that staff our school-based health centers is Clifford Beers Guidance Counselors, and they provide mental health, full-time mental health, Spanish-speaking social workers or therapists, I should say, for two of our main schools, which are Clinton Avenue and Fairhaven schools. So they provide those full-time clinicians for those two DPH-funded sites.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I had none either, so thank you. We'll jump into 4.2, an agreement with All Point Home Care. Ms. Jackson?
Yes, this agreement and the one that follows for 4.3 are somewhat similar in nature. They're for individualized nursing services for students with disabilities, starting in our extended school year program, whereby mandated by the IEP, these are students who require individual nursing throughout the day. And for one particular student, actually requires it even back and forth through transportation. So again, this is a good portion of the contracts that I mentioned that we use the contract money within IDEA for nursing services.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions on, I guess, 4.2 or 4.3, since they are pretty similar? Okay, I had none either. So we will move on to 4.4, an agreement with Tiffany Beach. Ms. Jackson?
That
Or
is oh, go ahead. Yep.
I was going to say Ms. Jackson or Ms. Jackson.
Miss Jackson or Miss Jackson. That's an agreement for a speech and language pathologist. I know that we've been here before talking about the national shortage of speech and language pathologists. So you'll see a series of speech and language pathology contracts to follow. Again, as mandated by the IEPs, we have to contract because we don't have enough full-time professionals, and continuing to work to obtain folks, but again, still do not have enough to be able to provide the mandated services across the district.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? One question that just occurred to me looking at the funding source. So this is listed as funding out of operating accounts. Is this the kind of thing that could be moved into special education funds or other types of funds, or has that been looked at? I guess is my question.
Yeah, we look at it. Obviously, as you mentioned, if you see even just the amount that we're spending with the nursing contracts and some of the behavioral contracts and personnel in IDEA, certainly that would be nice if we can optimize as much as possible. But at this point in time, we know that we've generally been holding the speech contracts in the general funds. So where possible, we have utilized IDEA for contracts.
Okay. Thank you for that.
So does that mean this one cannot be moved?
I cannot move it without being able to impact, again, just that whole pie and being able to see how much money we have, as I mentioned before. And if anyone at some point wants any additional information regarding what we spend in IDEA, because it's only a certain pocket of money. The other thing that we also have to be careful about is really our contribution. There's something that we have, again, that's called maintenance of effort, how much the district is maintaining its efforts towards special education. So we also have to be careful about that and how much we're contributing every year as well, because that's a part of, part of some of the compliance as it relates to special education funding.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next item is 4.5, which is an agreement with Diane Kaysen.
It's the same. Again, as far as that, and the next is speech and language pathologist contracts. So the next couple that you see are all speech and language contracts, 4.6 and 4.7, to offset what we don't have by way of full-time professionals in order to maintain services across the district.
Okay, and I see we have one correction that we'll need to make. In this description, it's listed as 90,000. It's actually 433,000, which it's listed correctly in all the backup documentation. The cover memo looks like a typo.
Sorry, I meant to also too, sorry, it's only 4.6, not 4.7. That's something else. But yeah, 4.6. We'll make sure to change that.
So again, though, the correct amount is listed on all the cover memo and all the backup documentation. So that's a
Thank you for that.
clarification there. And so 4.6 then is another speech language similar to the ones we've already been talking about. Is that correct?
That is correct. And our speech and language pathologist supervisor, she's been working very, very hard to take a look at how we can use things like SLPAs, working with Southern, looking at how we work with their programs, again, trying to see how we can maximize the number of full-time professionals. So more to come. But again, same theme of really offsetting the number of, you know, full-time professionals that we don't have in district enough to provide service delivery across the district.
Okay. But the preference would be for all of these to have these in-house. It's just not
Absolutely.
able to find people willing to work
Yes.
for the positions we have available. Got it.
Thank you.
Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, maybe at a different time, I'm interested in knowing if we've received any feedback from area contractors and then also our staff in terms of those who we have on staff as speech pathologists versus those who contract in terms of why they choose one or the other, and if there are adjustments we could make to help attract people to the district to work. So,
Sure. No,
thank you.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so that was 4.6. Here, nothing else on that. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. 4.7, an agreement with ACES. So Ms. Tusignant.
Hi, everybody. This is an agreement with ACES to provide support, our tech support for all of our literacy programming, including our district assessments. We have Anthony Moore, who provides this servicing to us. And he has been doing this for, I believe this will be his 20th year. And he knows our staff and knows our programming needs, understands the program and the department needs, does a really great job. And we are hoping to be able to move forward with him for next year.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, thank you very much for presenting this. In the future, is there a plan to wean off of having these services or being able to provide the work in-house? Or is it something that's kind of mandated by various agreements that we have that we bring in an outside person to do the training and work?
I know Mr. Moore would love to work for the district. So, it's my understanding that historically he has been contracted. I do know that he would be amenable to be working for the district if that opportunity arose for him. I just don't know that there is a position that is specific to what he does within the district.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So thank you for that. Moving on, then 4.8 is an agreement with Severn Intermediate Holdings / Power School. Mr. Nguyen? Oh. I don't see him on.
He was
somebody...
here.
I did see him previously, but in the interest of time, we'll come back to this unless somebody else can speak on it, in case he's able to reconnect. So we'll come back.
Power School, I was going to jump in. As you know, Power School is our main student information system. And here's John now.
Yeah, sorry. I got a phone call and I'll try to maneuver with that. I apologize. All right, so this is with Power School. There's two different parts to this. One is the cloud and the maintenance, the infrastructure of Power School, and the second part is the subscriptions. So this is a 5-year contract for um, Perform, which is the teacher evaluation, the enrollment registration part, the e-collect, and then the technical part is the cloud hosting and the maintenance and support. This comes from the general funds and other contractual services.
Okay. Thank you. Are there comments or questions?
Maybe, but I don't have them yet. So we keep going.
Okay, I'll jump into mine. Mine is so the 1.7 million that's listed, that's for the entire contract, right?
Yeah, it's the 5 years for all of the
Okay.
subscriptions as well as the cloud and the maintenance.
Okay. So Ms. DeMayo, I think as this gets listed, I think what we typically do with these is we list that the 1.7 is the total price for the 5 years, but year one costs are X number of dollars. Just to do the two things, it drives home that it's not 1.7 million a year and that this is a multi-year, which people might miss from the date range, but so that's my one comment. Dr. Yarbrough, did you have?
That helps me because I was trying to see. Yes, I definitely think on the memo we just want what the actual cost is. Well, to specify what the cost is for this year. And it looks like the savings by going with the multi-year is $200,000.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And
Not a
then
huge 5 years. It is something.
yeah. And in addition, I know last year you talked about trying to look at the subscriptions, and there's two that we did try to pull back from the multi-year. One is the Power Pack, where it wasn't doing a good enough job with the document delivery. So we're going to try to go with another vendor. That will cut about another 100,000, as well as with Naviance. We didn't want a 5-year contract with that, maybe 3 years. And if you limit the last few years, that would be about 120,000. So altogether, with not moving with all the subscriptions, about 400,000 with the 200 with the 5-year contract, and then the removal of some of the subscriptions.
Okay. Thank you for adding that detail and also following through on those areas of inquiry.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, thank you, sir. We will move on to 4.9, an agreement with Resource Lighting and Energy. So, Mr. Pagan?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, this agreement is with Resource Lighting. It's an LED upgrade at Beecher, Concy, West Hills, and Davis Street schools, not to exceed $942,000, $609. The rebate on this is $429,000. That's not including the return on investment, which I think you will see significant numbers on the first year. So this is the low-hanging fruit. I think it's really worth getting into this now.
All right, thank you.
Any questions?
Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, thank you for presenting this. I see that there is a project cost and then the estimated rebate.
So the rebate, the rebate looks like it's almost 50% of the project.
Right. So one question is, when does the rebate come? Does it come at the end of the fiscal year, or do we get it as we go along? And the second question is, is an estimated rebate? Is this a tight estimate, or is there some reason why we would not receive the full rebate that is thought might come with this
Well,
project?
the full rebate hasn't been submitted yet. That's why it's an estimate. And it would come in the first year. It would come in this fiscal year, the rebate, because once you file the paperwork, UI would cut the check and send it to you, or however you deal with them. I don't know if it's per credit or per check, how you have your current negotiations with them.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Alexiadis, do you have something to add?
Yes, thank you. Some of these agreements that we've seen in the past, or the similar agreements we've seen in the past, are with the utility companies. It's like a direct pay for the portion that they cover, which in here is described as a rebate. And then when we get the contract documents, that's the amount is specified in there. And in others, there's what's called on-bill financing to finance the out-of-pocket expense. So there isn't any out-of-pocket or isn't much out-of-pocket expense. But on-bill financing would require a separate agreement because it's technically a loan. But do you, Mr. Pagan, is it Pagan or Pagan?
Pagan.
Pagan, Mr. Pagan. Do you know whether this is a direct reimbursement or UI is directly paying the contractor for their portion? It sounds like it's
a reimbursement.
True rebate. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And my apologies, sir, for mispronouncing your name.
No worries. No worries at all. I think my first name is harder to pronounce than my last.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions on this? Please, Dr. Yarbrough.
Yes, one other quick question. What made these particular schools to be chosen? And like I imagine maybe we're marching through various schools.
It would be all schools are important, but it would be the ones with the most needs and the least amount of impact. So these were chosen based off of those factors.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll just add that we have been doing these LED lighting projects a few schools a year. Typically every year, if I remember correctly. Maybe there's been some exceptions in there, but I don't know how many we've done. My guess would be 10 or 12 in the last 5 years. But
in some other presentation, maybe on sustainability, climate, it could be nice to show like a graph of how many schools we've done, how many schools are remaining, and just so people can also see the work that's being done to cut expenses and treat the environment better as it relates to energy.
Duly noted.
And that relates to the final point I wanted to make is that we do have a very interested group of students that are very interested in climate issues, and we're behind the board passing a climate initiative several years ago. And one of the challenging things is having data or numbers that kind of show the benefits of things. So I do think it would be really great, if I remember right, there's somebody that looks at energy consumption, being able to kind of say that for Beecher, Conte, and Davis, before this retrofit, we were spending X number amount or using this much kilowatt hours, and now we're using less. Something that just kind of shows that in addition to cost savings, there's electricity savings associated with that. Being able to, we can say it, show it is something.
We will definitely monitor the trends and come back at the end of the project with some more information highlighting what you just described.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wilcox?
Yes.
The fund to pay for this. This is, what is this fund? Where does this sit? The energy enhancement is the funding source. Is that general funds? Is that a capital?
For 4.9, this is listed as capital. What I'm saying for 4.9 is
Okay.
the funding source is a capital projects fund.
Okay, I see now. Thank you.
And presumably, if there is a rebate, it would go back into that fund. But it's my assumption. Anything else on this item? All right, we'll move on to 4.10. So this is an agreement with Imperial Dade.
Yes, this is a renewal for custodial supplies and paper products.
Okay, comments or questions? I had none either, so 411.
As well, this is a renewal for custodial equipment repair.
Okay, comments or questions? I had none either. 412 with Hilliard.
This agreement as well is a renewal for Hilliard paper products.
Okay, comments or questions? I had none either, so we'll jump to 413, agreement with Shipman and Goodwin. Dr. White?
Yes, this is an agreement to not exceed $200,000 to continue the legal services that we get from Shipman and Goodwin. They wrote the book literally on Connecticut education law and are supporting us in the course of current litigation that we've been working on, and they have the expertise of working with the district for a long time now.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? And he's not exaggerating. Attorney Thomas Mooney literally did write the book on Connecticut education law. So 414, agreement with Bertram Moses.
Yep. Yes, hi. Sorry, I had to get off video for a moment. But the first one is Bertram has two contracts. One is specifically for special education matters, but this one we have some ongoing cases that Bertram Moses continues to manage. In addition, as I mentioned in one of our previous meetings, that they've been helping us more so now, even with some of our Title IX cases. So that's the first contract, is the general litigation where we're having them help us with CHRO, OCR, and some Title IX cases.
As long as we're on it, why don't you jump into 415 and talk about the other one with Bertram Moses?
Yep, and the other one from Bertram Moses, specifically as it relates for special education matters. Generally speaking, Bertram has been assisting us anytime if there's any kind of litigation or any kind of complaints that we have and need representation as it relates to special education law matters. They've been a longstanding partner with us and have worked very closely managing our cases. In addition to that, they've also helped to build capacity across the district. They, for the last few years, have also worked with our administrators, giving them some general information about not only just special education law, but updating litigation and legislative updates.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions on either one of these two Bertram Moses contracts or agreements? All right, thank you. We'll jump into 416, an agreement with Martin Philpott. Ms. Jackson?
Mr. Philpott, Attorney Philpott, is our attorney that represents the board in expulsion matters.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? So my one question is just, so Attorney Philpott is handling the legal side of this. He does not act as the impartial hearing officer. Is that correct? Is he?
No, he's not. So there's Attorney Macniak is the impartial hearing officer. Attorney Philpott literally represents the board, or represents the public schools board.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Hearing nothing else on that, we'll jump into 4.17, an agreement with ABM, option 3 of 3. Dr. White?
Yes, we are looking to exercise the final option on the ABM contract. If you recall earlier in the year, Mr. Carter had looked at the possibility of moving to new contracting or trying to move towards a hybrid model. We are still exploring those possibilities for the future. This is the last year of the contract, and we would be going out to bid a year from now. The RFP is in development, and the plan is to have that out by September of this year with a selection of possible successor by January, and then knowledge transfer over the course of that time period to a new contract come July 2026. Also, the relationship with this working with the new director of facilities position is it increases the oversight of them as a vendor, with our staff now having direct supervision, and this person will point to the COO, the director of facilities. And then within that, we would also be making sure that we are monitoring billing and everything as we prepare for who would be our success as we look for new models for our custodial work.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I think you answered the questions that I had. So thank you for that. The one thing, if I could request Ms. DeMeo, if you would make note that we should have the plans for facilities management to be maybe on the second September F&O meeting. That obviously can be moved, unless you all think you'd be better to have that in the first October meeting. But if we could just make note of that so that we can get an update. Dr. Yorber?
Thank you. For our upcoming board meeting, it might be worthwhile to have a memo from Dr. White that just says what was just spoken.
Will
So
do.
nothing, but I think it could be useful.
Will do.
100% agree. Thank you. All right. So hearing nothing else on that, we will move on to an amendment. We have one amendment with the agreement with Highville Charter. Ms. Jackson.
Yep, this is just an amendment to the actual rate. There's no change in the final amount, but again, this is just a change in the rate.
Okay. Comments or questions? When I looked at it, it seems like there was a math error the first time it came through, but the numbers
Yes, that's correct.
add up. I did the math. And
Yep.
I was like, wait, how does that change that much? But it was like, no, it was just incorrectly listed on that.
Yes.
Okay. Hearing nothing else on that. Purchase order, the first purchase order with New England Pump and Valve. Mr. Pagan?
Yes, this purchase order is with New England Pump and Valve to provide services and repair overhauls on all main heating and chilled water loop motors, pumps, assemblies, and boiler circulating pumps district-wide. Very important contract for the upkeep of the district.
Okay. Comments or questions? Okay, I had none either. Next one is with Cintas Corporation.
Yes, Cintas Corporation to provide rental mops and mats services throughout the district.
Thank you. Comments or questions? I had none. We'll jump into contracts. First one is award a contract with Auto Parts and Service Incorporated. Mr. Pagan?
Yes, this contract is awarded to Auto Parts and Service to provide on-call vehicle services and repairs for the district for all vehicles.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Okay, 7.2 is award with contract with Air Care Environmental.
Okay, good afternoon. This contract is for the hood cleaning for all of our district hoods in the cafeterias.
All right, thank you, Mr. Young. Any comments or questions? Then we'll jump into 7.3, which is precision food service.
And this is for on-call maintenance, 2 hours oven and steam services.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Okay, 7.4, Encore Holdings.
This contract is with Encore. This is our kitchen fire suppression.
Okay. Comments or questions? I had none either. Next one is the 7.5 contract with Nardoni Brothers.
This is one of our further processing vendors for pizza.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions? All right. Next one is water contract with Carbonella and the Sarbo.
Carbonella is our produce vendor.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? All right. And for those that aren't familiar, we're buzzing through some of these because we see these are similar ones each year for these types of services, and the backup materials have full listings of, like what's being purchased and for how much per unit, etc. So make that comment. But now I've lost the place where I was. So do you remember where we are, Mr. Young?
7.7, Nouveau.
Okay, 7.7, please.
Nouveau Packaging is a paper goods vendor that handles like our film services if we're doing packaging for our meals that we send out to the sites.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? All right, 7.8, Precision Food Service.
This is our contract for our refrigeration repairs on call.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? And none either. Finally, 7.9, Gilman Cheese.
Gilman Cheese is a further processing for our cheese products for the school year.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? All right, thank you. Just one little general question. I think we've done a lot of these today and then in previous meetings. Are you anticipating many more coming through food service related, or are you kind of getting towards the end of your list?
We're getting towards the end. I do have one coming through for our POS. That RFP closed today. So you should see that on the upcoming.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Hearing nothing on that, now we have 3 amended resolutions that have some similarities here. So I'm assuming this is, let's see, it's not updating. I'm assuming this is Attorney Alexiadis or Dr. White or somebody, but my board
I
docs
will,
crashing.
no problem. I can take these. These resolutions are related to the previous resolutions that were done for grants that we've applied for with Office of School Construction. These each have updates reflecting closer to true costs as opposed to estimates that are based on actual surveillance of the rules, the various rules involved. The one for Truman School actually came in lower. The estimates for Wilbercross and James Hill House had to go higher based on what was found. And also just reflecting the fluctuating costs of materials at this time.
All right, thank you. There was also more other conversation about this in the Citywide Building and Stewardship Committee meeting last week. So any comments or questions related to items 8.1, 8.2, or 8.3? Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, I think for 8.1, it's not opening now. I didn't see actual cost, like an actual number listed in that resolution. Is that correct? We just needed the resolution, but not to name the cost.
The cost is Total cost is it's the final last second to last paragraph, financial
Okay,
impact. So the cost
okay,
is 1.195.
okay. I agree. I mean, I see it now. Um, hmm. So just to think about, we've already we've already approved this, and now we're just approving the amendment that has the specific updated cost.
Correct.
Okay. It might be worth at some point just attaching to the documents the previous thing that the board approved so people can reference because this particular document doesn't have all the usual memo backup information. So,
Okay.
but otherwise, I support these, or even with that, I support these amendments that are here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get
Hey,
board
back online.
docs not cooperating all of a sudden here. And if I remember correctly from conversation citywide, the amended resolutions are required by the funder, that the funder needs us to
Yes.
see what now that there's truer estimates, the funder wants us to make sure that we've seen, and then this, if I remember correctly, these go to the Board of Alders as well to
Yes.
approve. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Anything else on these three items? Okay, we're getting down towards the end. Items 9.1 and 9.2 involve the recommendation of retirement and surplusing of West Rock Stream Academy and also what was Quinnipiac Real World Math STEM School. It's not listed as a person. Is there somebody who wants to present on this?
I can present, and if you need further detail, we do have the two people from the city who presented as well, Michael Pinto and Carlos Escai, come in. But essentially, this is the process of us returning these buildings, formally returning these buildings to the city. West Rocks and Quinnipiac, during the beginning of COVID, were determined that their HVAC systems were beyond repair, and especially when we were at a point where ventilation is very important to those buildings. So those buildings have been closed since, I believe, 2021. And this is now the full process to return them to the city. And it begins with us making these resolutions so that it's fully recognized that this is done, and all claims and deeds are returned to the city for these properties.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Alexei.
Yes, thank you. I just, as Dr. White mentioned, Michael Pinto and Carlos Ezeguari are in the waiting room. If you have any questions for them, they are involved with the specifics of these resolutions.
Okay, feel free to bring them into the meeting if they had something they needed to say.
Bring them over now.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank
Welcome, welcome, especially to you, Mr. Pinto, Attorney Pinto, for joining us. It's been a while. F&O meeting, I think, but
yes, it's been a while since I was in an F&O meeting. Brings back fond memories.
welcome
Congratulations to everyone on the last day of school, and I think we'll be as brief as we possibly can. Yeah, these are simply the formal returning of jurisdiction for the buildings, making the formal declaration that there's surplus to educational needs of the district at this point, and returning them to the stewardship and jurisdiction of the city. The resolutions also contain the authority for the Board of Ed president to quit claim, to clear title, in effect, we found when we were the most recent one that we had done, the original Strong School on Grand Avenue, the title was all like the parcels had come in various names, like the Fairhaven School District, all of these things which no longer exist if they ever did. And so the resolutions simply transfer the jurisdiction for the properties back to the city, declare them surplus to educational needs, and also authorize any cleanup of title. We figured we thought it would be easier and cleaner just to do it all now rather than address it later. And everyone's sort of forgotten about what we were, if we all took it all at once, we would all remember what was going on. And that's it. Happy last day of school. Congratulations to all of the graduates and all of the educators who have done such a fine job this year.
All right, thank you. Attorney Alexiadis?
Let me just add that with regard to Attorney Pinto's discussion of title for the lay people on the board, the district, or rather the city, holds title to these properties. They are fully and long, and for as long as we all know, owned by the city. But being that our city dates back to the colonial era, sometimes the formal title on the land records is somewhat convoluted and needs to be cleaned up in connection with any disposition. And that's all that does. It's really, covering us in case of technicalities down the road.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions related to these two items? Dr. Yarbrough.
Yes, thank you for presenting on these. So sometime later, the actual language will be presented for me to sign, given the board agrees. So it's not within this memo that's provided. I guess my question is there anything for the board to vote on come Monday's meeting, or is
Yeah, and if I may, I'll just also add to that. That was going to be my question is we'll just need whatever the actual language is and what the motion needs to be.
Okay, fair enough.
Get official, so that because I know from our previous conversation in the citywide meeting that there is a lot of this is also those details that you just mentioned about further action based on names and land searches, et cetera. So.
Absolutely, no problem. I will make sure I talk with Selena and copy you, Mr. Wilcox, and we will give you a formal a resolution or sort of a formal resolution to actually read into the record.
And if it's helpful, we did this with the Shacks building. I want to say that was 2 years ago or 1 year ago. I can't recall, but
Okay.
There was the actual language that was there that might serve as a base.
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will just note that as the cover memo says, that it was from the superintendent that this will go to the Board of Alders if approved by the full board on Monday with a request that they consider any proceeds that come from the sale of these buildings and capital needs of the district. So I fully endorse that and hope that they consider that. Once we hand a building back, it's up to the city to do whatever they need to do. And I'm sure there's lots of competing interests for public, nonprofit, development, et cetera. So, but as they do that, if there are any proceeds, I wholeheartedly endorse the request that we fix some roofs and some other capital needs of the district. Okay. Hearing no other comments or questions, that's the end of the action items. So I move that we send to the full board with a recommendation to approve these 6 abstracts, these 17 agreements, this 1 amendment, these 2 purchase orders, these 9 contracts, these 3 amended resolutions, and these two recommendations for retirement and surplusing of buildings.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. The motion carries. Next item is financial report for May 31. This Ms. Hannons? Or is this who's presenting?
Ms. Hannons, you want me to play Vanna or you want?
Yes, please. Thank
No
you.
problem.
I want to
No
stay true to
problem.
form.
Absolutely, neighbor.
Yeah, we'll stay true to form. I forget to unmute myself and you play Vanna. Okay, in the essence of time, I won't keep you long tonight, but with the financial report that we're providing tonight is just for the period ending May 31st. For the period fiscal year July 1 through May 31st. Summary of expenses, our total expenditures to date with all grants and general fund together is $242 million. Our general fund expenditures through May 31st, so 158.5, which is 76% of the adopted budget, and our special fund expenditures are so far 83 million or 77.4% of the current grant budget. The first report I'm going to talk about is the financial report for general fund. And as we always do, we provide you with a cheat sheet on how to read the financial report. So there are no changes here. Again, this report here goes through May 31st. So as you can see, we're, I think 77% in. The screen is so small, I can't see it. Okay. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, so as you can see, our to date, it shows the columns and the expenditure. So we've spent for the month of through May, we spent 158 million, which I told you earlier, and we have about available budget of 5.8. And right now we're showing our deficit has gone down for about $1 million. So we're now at 3.5. The second page, the second page is just the broken down by category. So you can see where the shortfalls are by category. And if you can just keep going through there, Dr. White. Okay, so the changes from our previous report, as we always report out, our salaries affected are reflected again through May 31st. We have still potential for year-end adjustments. Our last payroll was run on June 6th. So the next report will show you where everyone's caught up to date. The only things that would then go in here would be the people that elected to have 5 checks during the summer. And there are other charges like the retirement costs for contract settlements, our pension contributions, which can't be charged until everyone gets their last paycheck. And then our share will be reflected in the June final financial reports. There are 2 contracts out there that I didn't put in the report that are scheduled to be paid. And one is the substitute teachers are going to get retroactive, and as well as the para contract has been arbitrated. So that also those charges will also be reflected in our June report. For the non-personnel costs, our big cost driver again is always tuition. There was an increase of $500,000 since our last report with new student placements. Due to the passing of HB 7163, we expected an additional $1.67 million of revenue, which did, helped us to reduce the deficit. We're still working closely with the city on our utility costs. There were some late charges in there that have to be backed out because the late charges would not be on the Board of Education's part because the city pays our utility costs. So those costs will be reflected. The reduction in those costs will be reflected in the future report. With our mitigation efforts, as we all know, we've been continuing working the same this year with our budget lines. We're finding cost savings wherever we can. We're also still exploring other sources of non-restrictive revenue. As you know, a lot of our grants are restrictive, so it's hard to just say that we're going to place this on a grant. We continue to monitor requests that all grant applications allow for indirect costs, even though we've been hit severely on our indirect cost rate again. So we're down to less than 1%. Last year, we went down to 1.64 from 5.27. So as you can see, that is a significant decrease in outside allowable funds that we're able to get from managing these grants. That, if the rate continues to go down, it can't really go down any further. It would just probably go out the door. So while we're getting these grants, we just have to make sure that wherever we can, we must apply, if it's applicable, to get an indirect cost rate. So also we've been working with the city. We have weekly meetings with the city to collaborate on billing, so that we're in a better place fiscally in terms of trying to get numbers earlier so that we can always stay current. And I want to thank the finance team for that, because they have really worked on that this year in terms of, communication is a good thing when it helps you to make better reports and bring additional funding in. So now with the monthly financial reports for the grant section, as you can see, our budget was only 107 this year, big difference from what it used to be. And our year-to-date actuals are 83. So we still have $7.2 million out there worth of encumbrances. So our available budget right now is 16.9. Some of these grants are carryoverable. Like say our Title I and any of our entitlement grants. But we need to really keep an eye on these numbers, because we depend on these grants to just operate. And if you look at the graph that we always provide, it gives you a visual of the funds that we get and where we apply those grants. So these numbers are going to be reduced again next year. And the fact that they're not only entitlement grants would come in. If they start hitting entitlement grants, it won't be a good day in New Haven or for our children. The next slide, I think, was just how to read the revenue report, because I know sometimes it can be confusing. And the next page is the revenue report, and you could see how in 23-24 we were at 144. We were able to carry over 22, and that was because a lot of our grants don't end when the school year ends up June 30th. So then we have to roll those funds over into the current fiscal year. For this year, 24-25, you can see there's a big difference where we were at 144. Now we're down to 85. And then there are no more pending approvals as of this moment, of this report. So our total anticipated funding came in at 185, with the available funds for this fiscal year of 107. If you look at the year-to-date change, that column is very significant, because you can see we're down almost almost $59 million. And then finally, this graph here is just a visual showing you where the expenses lie. I always think this is a good picture for, just to see visually real quick where your dollars are with the grant funds. And then that completes my report. So I'll take any questions if there are any.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I had none either. Thank you very much for what I believe is your last monthly financial report with us.
Yes, it is.
Thanks.
Doesn't have the right colors in it, but yes, this is my last financial report.
Well, certainly
and
not
again, as I said last week, thank you all. It's been a pleasure working with you for the 54 years. But it's time for me to move aside. I ran out of money, so it's not a joke, but you have to look at the bright side and continue on. I wish you all the luck in the world, and that we continue to look at these grants and make sure that we're spending them wisely, and that we're doing the utmost for our children of New Haven. And I've appreciated working with you all. You've kept me on my toes, and I don't want to do numbers anymore. I'm tired.
Right. Thank you
I don't
very
even
much.
do my own checkbook, But I've appreciated the opportunity that I was given to take on this job, being a product of New Haven, growing up in New Haven, being a work-study student in New Haven. My whole life it was in New Haven. While my friends went away to college, I had to go to Southern and what was that other one up in the hill, West Haven, University of New Haven. But it's been a pleasure.
Right.
And I wouldn't have done it any other way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Indeed. All right. Well, thanks for that. Moving through the agenda. Next item is the upcoming financial issues. And for Mr. Hernandez, just background for you on this. This is a placeholder topic in every discussion item section of every F&O meeting now. And the purpose of this is if there's, looming financial issues, good or bad, that are things that the district wants to inform the board about, this is a good place. These all get listed on the minutes. So it also is a chance to let us know if there's something out there looming that we need to know about, so there's no surprises later.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the item here tonight is charter school special education update. Ms. Jackson?
Yep, so I'm just giving you an update. I know I was here earlier in the year, just talking and discussing our special education contracts with our charter schools. Just for context, for everyone who knows that we historically have had contracts with Booker T, Common Ground, Achievement First, and Highville. We've been phasing in. There's been a state decision that talks about this notion of actual versus reasonable costs. That has been one. We are going to be appealing that along with Waterbury schools, but it also gives the school districts an opportunity to hire special education teachers of their own to send to charter schools. So this year, what we've done, instead of having 4 agreements with the 4 charter schools that we mentioned, this year we have sent teachers to Booker T. Washington, so we did not have to enter into a contract. We were able to successfully negotiate the contracts for both Highville and for Common Ground for the rest of this year. Achievement First still has not signed off on a contract, still has not brought it here forward, and we're at the end of the fiscal year. At this point in time, we've made several attempts, and we have our attorney who's now involved just enough so that this way we can close out the year. Because we still have not had a signed contract. So I want to make sure that the board is aware that we don't have 2 things, that we don't have a signed contract still yet for Achievement First. And for the upcoming school year, we are working with Teach for America to secure our own teachers, as I'm mentioning this phase in, for both Common Ground and for Highville. So I'm sorry, for Common Ground and Highville in addition to Booker T. So we are phasing in more teachers. We would not have a contract this upcoming school year. If all goes well and we're able to secure special education teachers, we will not have a contract for Highville or for Common Ground. Given how large Achievement First is, that would be the last of the charter schools that we would be able to provide special education teachers, just given the number of teachers that we would need to secure in order to be able to meet the mandated services. But again, just wanted to make sure that we're aware that Achievement First still signed their contract and our plans for Highville and Common Ground for the upcoming.
Thank you. Comments or questions? I had none either, so thank you for the update and for all the work on trying to chase these contracts down. Final item on the agenda is the data sharing policy. Checking to see if there's anything else that needs to happen on this. Dr. Yarbrough?
I could use more time for this.
All right. Just also taking a look at this again, this does include some, and thank you, Mr. Nguyen, for providing a memo that has some information about the particularities of things here. We probably want to, if there's appendices or things that don't apply or draft forms, that we could go ahead and let's go ahead and figure out what needs to be removed from this before we send it on to governance.
Mm-hmm.
The base of this was from the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, and if we have particular things, we can just excise those from this and add in our own or just make reference to things. All right, so we'll carry that on to the next meeting, and that's the end of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And seconded by me. How do you vote, sir?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
everyone.